Hello everyone, welcome to Roll the Dice here at the Westfield Librarian with myself, Christian Bohr. Today we're going to be discussing that most perilous of perils, failure. So, sometimes characters make mistakes. Maybe you missed a clue while you were investigating something, maybe you rushed in ahead of your friends, maybe you thought that there were 5 pirates ahead of you, but it turns out there's actually 20. Maybe your character has fallen past a cliff edge, stretches out their hand for the edge, and rolls a natural 1. Oops, you missed. Here's my hot take on this. Oopses happen, and sometimes they're actually really good. Heroes are defined not by their successes, but by their failures. One of the wisest things I've ever read about how to write characters, and which is related to how to play characters in games like this. Characters are like geodes. To find out what they're made of, you have to break them. After all, stories where the good guys win all the time aren't actually very interesting. The bad guys lose, the good guys win. The end. But when stuff starts going wrong, when a character's limits are met, and you have to exceed them to really face the challenges ahead, that's where characters are made. Sometimes the good guys flat out lose. They need to retreat, or they're trapped in a really bad situation, or a member of their party is flat out killed by a bad guy. These things happen. On a related note, this isn't always obvious, but a good dungeon master will always discuss limits with their players at the beginning of a campaign. Character death is a very traumatic thing when it happens. You put a whole ton of time and energy into playing this one fictional character, so to have them suddenly get killed with just like a random arrow or something in a goblin fight, that's no fun. And keeping that in mind, some people will want to play with lighter stakes. Some people will naturally have a better time playing at the level of like a Saturday morning cartoon. When done carefully, and with player consent and dungeon master consent, a character's death can be a very powerful thing. Think about, for example, Lord of the Rings. Boromir's death in the end of the Fellowship of the Ring is probably the climax of the movie. Throughout the movie, Boromir has been arrogant, proud, occasionally cruel, but with his death, with his redemption, he redeems himself. You can think about it as a long series of choices that he's made. Effectively, it's not just that Boromir goes up against a big orc and just loses. He doesn't just roll a couple natural ones and just fails. He has set himself up to fail. Yet, with his death, with this long string of failures, he's created a perfectly memorable character that sticks in the audience's mind. Imagine doing an arc like this with your own character. You've built up a long string of choices over real time. Sometimes campaigns can take months of actual weekends or afternoons. So to have this character finally build up the end of their arc, the final climax, and it ends up being a failure, that can have a very powerful message. Games are made on this kind of thing. Alright, so that was a little bit heavy, but next time we're going to talk about something a little bit lighter fare, and it just so happens to be one of my favorite subjects. Thanks for tuning in to Roll the Dice here at the Westfield Librarian. I have been and still am Christian Bohr. In the meantime, don't forget that we have our own Dungeons & Dragons clubs here at the Athenaeum. Stay tuned to our calendar on the website for more information on that. Tune in next time to hear me say, how do I make a campaign?